Alright, welcome to my mess of a garage. So tonight I decided I was going to get rolling on the needswings custom V8 exhaust manifolds for this car. So here you can kind of see one I got loosely sitting in there. Let's get some light. Kind of see it's got the perfect factory turn down to go to the factory mid pipes. It all looks pretty good. I gotta tighten this one down. I was actually able to, this side I had to jack the motor up, loosen the motor mounts, jack the motor up to get the manifolds out on this side. And then also this new manifold actually dropped right on in there, right between the this little gap right here, just slid in. Kind of wiggled it, set it right where it needs to be. So luckily that looks like it's going in pretty good. I do have it jacked up since I had to take the mid pipes off just to make it a little easier. Here's the passenger side. I did header wrap them after I sprayed them with some high temp VHT header paint. And then I wrapped them. I mostly wrapped them because the clearance is really tight with the V8 on that engine bay. There are power steering lines and whatnot that kind of run right by it, so I don't want to cause any premature damage to those. So here's actually, well, let's do a comparison first. So here you can kind of see the port differences. The new ones are a lot larger in diameter. Kind of see that kind of goes in a little smaller, where this one's nice and wide. Needswings claims I think a little over 70% larger main collector portion versus these, because what these are actually this mostly is a heat shield, and that's your pipe size. Then compare that to that, and it's a pretty good difference. Also right here where bottlenecks. I definitely think that kind of restricts the flow a lot, where this one's a lot bigger, more open, and should let it flow a lot better. And then, of course, we got the primaries, which are the individual little pipes. Needswings claims, I think 35% larger than factory. So here you can kind of see, actually, the port's big, but then you kind of see how it steps down right there. And that's where it goes to the individual, the smaller tubes inside the heat shield. So you can kind of see right there, it steps down a good amount. Where on these, they just go wide open all the way in. And kind of angle, towards the back. So I'm definitely can't wait to get these on and see how they do. I don't know if I'll be able to really get too much testing in due to the weather. I do live in southern Ohio, and it's pretty cold out right now. So obviously that might be a little dilemma. But as you can see, got the engine jacked up with the motor mount bolts loose on the, I took the bolts out for the lower motor mounts. Slid under there, took the mid pipes out, and then took the factory manifolds off. It's actually pretty simple. I mean, it only took me a couple hours to get the manifolds out. So there's 8 nuts that hold the manifold to the motor, and there's 2 bolts for each mid pipe that the header bolts into. And you kind of see it's got the clamshell design right here, and that sits right in here. It gets sandwiched up by the cats and mid pipes. So that's kind of part 1 of the video. I took the coils out of the way just to get a little more room, but you can kind of see how tight that is down there. It actually looks better. Like, I think these take up less room actually than the factory manifolds, so that'd be cool. Hopefully that helps with keeping the heat off those power steering lines that are right there. I need to clean them up a little bit. But yeah, I know I haven't done too many videos with the install when I put the motor in. I can kind of see the dual fans I have. The clearance is really tight. When the motors drop back down, that fan and the water pump pulley are pretty close to each other. I mean, there's enough room where I'm not worried about it hitting or anything, but definitely pretty tight. Kind of see it's pretty tight on this side. This side I think I'm gonna go up from the bottom for this exhaust manifold. There's a lot more room on the passenger side down there because the steering is all on the driver's side, and having the steering gearbox, you can see that big brick down there. That's actually the input for your steering rack. Well, it doesn't have a rack, it's got a gearbox and a idler and pitman arm and everything. Kind of like a truck, which I guess isn't necessarily a bad thing for reliability. I don't know why they chose to do that. Obviously, a steering rack's more responsive than this setup, but it does handle pretty well. I've replaced the whole suspension too in the front. And here's the Brembos I put on it. Some 4 pistons. Definitely made a huge difference in stopping. I replaced all the lower control arm bushings, sway bar bushings. I got Votlin. You can see it back there. They're purple lowering springs. That's a German company. I ended up cutting the fronts lower though, which for it to sit that low, I had to basically make my own bodywork under here, because that little section right here actually comes out. There's some metal. It's kind of squared off, which got in the way with how low I made the car sit, so I had to work that out a little bit on both sides. But yeah, I mean, everything's going in pretty good on this exhaust swap. Yeah, I'm definitely glad to get those out. I never got them welded like I should have before I put the motor in because I was too impatient. And it definitely had some exhaust leaks. I had header wrap around there just to kind of slow down the leaks. But yeah, this will be a lot better. I won't be smelling it as much, and it should sound a lot better. Not to mention perform better. So definitely can't wait to get this wrapped up and hopefully get a few miles on it. Eventually I might put these tires back on also. More for track tire though, the Nitto NTO5s. I might put them on, see. Last time at the track, the best I did was a 13.0083 at 109.7 miles per hour. So hopefully I can top that. I know this car is capable of 12. Maybe I'm sandbagging too much with the manual trans. We shall see come spring what I can get going. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of where we're at. I might pull the intake manifold back off too. I think I might try those thermalator intake gaskets. They're supposed to help separate the heat from the engine from the intake manifold and help with cooler intake temps. It's kind of another random thing I'm going to do. Haven't really talked much, but I did do the VRP secondary air pump. I can't really see that one back there. Delete. Got that all tuned out by Josh Chase at Mercedes Swap Shop. And then I also deleted the rear EGR. That was something I really wanted to get deleted, more so than the you can kind of see the plate, but more so than the secondary air, just because I don't want exhaust gas getting into the intake. I can kind of slow down the throttle response in some degrees. There's another plate. I did have to put different bolts in for the lower plate because without the valve in there, it's a lot shorter. But besides that, I mean, everything worked flawless. The only thing I did have to do was leave that solenoid back there hooked up. That yellow guy right there with the connector. Only because it was throwing a short fault in the computer with the check engine light. Even though he tuned it out, it still needs to have that wire or that circuit complete to work right. But yeah, I mean, so everything's going pretty good. I'll do an update once I get everything done. That way we can kind of see how it feels, get some impressions, and do some draggy times and see if it's beats my current records that I have stored with draggy, which when I ran that 13.0083, draggy actually gave me a 12.95. So hopefully, let's see what I can do with this after here and kind of go from there. Thanks again, and subscribe, watch, do whatever you want. I don't know, I try to keep these short and sweet because I hate watching videos where people just ramble on all the time. So yeah, thanks for watching and stay tuned. Alright, so here we are back on 4 feet. Everything's done. I finished up last night. Cleaned it up a little more under the hood. I can't really see the headers too much, but they are down there. So now I got started and kind of heat cycle the heat wrap and the VHT header paint I put on there. That way the paint cures right to help protect the manifolds more. So I'm going to do a cold start and then pull it outside and let it bake that fun stuff off. So there she is. I do have the muffler delete and a few other things, so yeah, I'm gonna let it sit before I go drive it a little later. I'm gonna let it kind of burn off the residue from the header wrap and the paint that's on the manifolds.